I saw my sister's message, and the ground just disappeared beneath me. How could someone you trust completely just vanish? Rain lashed against the cafe's panoramic windows, blurring the neon cityscape outside. It felt like the world was crying with me, or maybe at me, mocking my naivety. My phone vibrated again. Ben, my soon-to-be ex-husband. I almost didn't answer. Claire? His voice, usually so comforting, was now laced with a smugness that made my skin crawl. What, Ben? I managed, my voice shaking despite my best efforts. He chuckled, a short, cruel sound. Just calling to finalize things. The divorce papers are with your lawyer. Oh, and I sold the house. The silence that followed was deafening. You... what? I sold it, Claire. Gone. New owners moving in. Don't worry, I packed your things. They're in storage. Consider it a fresh start. He laughed again, a sound that would haunt my nightmares for years to come. Then he hung up. Just like that, my life, our life, reduced to a cold, calculated transaction. I sat there numb, staring at the blurry city lights, feeling the sting of betrayal sharper than any physical pain. What would you do? Just curl up and accept it? I couldn't. I wouldn't. My lawyer, a sharp woman named Miss Davis, advised me to stay calm, to gather information. Don't react emotionally, Claire. React strategically. Easier said than done when your entire world has been ripped away. I started by going through our financial records, bank statements, investment portfolios, everything. Ben had always handled the finances. He said it was because I was too emotional to deal with them. How convenient. Art. It didn't take long to find discrepancies, small withdrawals, odd transfers, all masked by cryptic descriptions. I showed Miss Davis. Her eyes narrowed. He's been hiding assets, Claire. This is significant. That's when I started digging deeper. I remembered a conversation we had months ago about cryptocurrency. Ben had dismissed it as a risky gamble. Now, I wasn't so sure. I remembered him spending hours on his computer, late into the night. He said he was working. Using my admittedly limited tech skills, I managed to access his old laptop. It was password protected, of course. I tried everything, birthdays, anniversaries, pet names. Nothing. I was about to give up when I remembered something he'd said once, something about his childhood hero. I typed in the name. It unlocked. The relief was overwhelming, followed by a wave of nausea. There it was, a hidden folder labeled Project Phoenix. Inside, a meticulously documented record of cryptocurrency investments, worth a small fortune. He had been systematically funneling money into this account for years, money that should have been ours. I printed everything, my hands shaking. This was it. This was my leverage. But something didn't sit right. Why hide it so meticulously? Why call it Project Phoenix? It felt off. Ms. Davis was ecstatic. This changes everything, Claire. He's in serious trouble. She immediately filed a motion to freeze his assets. I arranged a meeting at a neutral location, a sterile, modern office building with panoramic views that felt ironically impersonal. He walked in, looking smug as ever. So you've decided to be reasonable, Claire. Reasonable? I laughed. The sound bitter and hollow. You sold our house, Ben. You left me with nothing. And you think I'm going to be reasonable? I slid the printouts across the table. His face paled. Where did you get this? I found it, Ben. Your little Project Phoenix. Seems you weren't as clever as you thought. He tried to bluff his way out of it, claiming it was a legitimate investment, that I was overreacting. But I saw the fear in his eyes. He knew he was caught. I want half, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. Half of everything, and I want the house back. He scoffed. You'll never get it. Oh, I think I will, Ben. Davis is very persuasive. He stormed out, muttering threats under his breath. I watched him go, a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness swirling inside me. I had won, but at what cost? The legal battle was long and grueling. Ben fought dirty, dragging out the proceedings, trying to intimidate me. He even tried to claim I was mentally unstable. But I held my ground, fueled by a righteous anger and the unwavering support of Ms. Then, I received an anonymous message. It was untraceable, sent through a secure messaging app. "Drop the case, Claire. He's not worth it." My blood ran cold. Who sent it? And what did they know? Could I be in danger? How much deeper did this rabbit hole go? I showed the message to Miss. She advised me to report it to the police, but I hesitated. Something told me involving the police would only complicate things. Instead, I decided to do my own investigation. I started by looking into Ben's associates, his friends, his business partners. I scoured social media, LinkedIn, any online presence I could find. One name kept popping up. Marcus Thorne, a former colleague of Ben's, now running his own tech startup. Marcus seemed off. His online persona was polished, almost too perfect. I dug deeper, searching for any connection between Marcus and the cryptocurrency investments. And then I found it. A seemingly innocuous blog post on Marcus's website, discussing blockchain technology and the future of finance. But buried within the code of the website was a hidden message, a string of numbers and letters that looked suspiciously like a cryptocurrency wallet address. I compared it to the addresses in Ben's Project Phoenix documents. They matched. Marcus was involved. But how? And why? I decided to confront Marcus. I found his office address online and drove there, my heart pounding in my chest. The building was sleek and modern, all glass and steel, a monument to success. I walked into the reception area and asked to speak to Marcus. The receptionist, a young woman with bright pink hair and an AR social media filter flickering around her head, told me he was in a meeting. "Tell him Claire Reynolds is here," I said, my voice firm. "It's urgent." She hesitated, then picked up the phone. A few moments later, she looked up. "He'll see you now." Marcus's office was as sterile and impersonal as the rest of the building. He stood up from behind his desk, his expression carefully neutral. "Claire," he said, extending his hand. "What a surprise." "We need to talk about Project Phoenix, Marcus." His face tightened. Just for a fraction of a second, but it was enough. He knew. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, his voice cool and dismissive. "Don't lie to me, Marcus. I know you're involved. I found the wallet address on your website." He sighed, running a hand through his perfectly styled hair. "All right, you got me. But it's not what you think." He proceeded to tell me a story about Ben's ambition, his greed, and his desperation to succeed. Apparently, Ben had approached Marcus with a business proposal, a surefire way to make millions using cryptocurrency. Marcus had initially been hesitant, but Ben had been persuasive, promising him a significant share of the profits. However, things had quickly gone sour. Ben had become increasingly secretive, cutting Marcus out of the decision-making process and pocketing the majority of the profits. Marcus had tried to confront him, but Ben had threatened him, warning him to stay silent or face the consequences. Marcus claimed he had sent me the anonymous message, warning me to drop the case because he feared for my safety. Ben, he said, was capable of anything. Was he telling the truth? Or was he just trying to save his own skin? How could I trust him? I left Marcus's office, my head spinning. I didn't know what to believe. Was Ben truly a monster? Had I been blind to his true nature all along? That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned in bed, haunted by the conflicting stories and the unsettling feeling that I was missing something. I decided to take another look at the Project Phoenix documents. I went through them meticulously, searching for any clue, any detail that I might have overlooked. And then I saw it. A small, almost imperceptible discrepancy in one of the transaction records. A single digit was off, a subtle error that could easily be missed. I cross-referenced the transaction with other records, and a pattern began to emerge. Ben wasn't just hiding assets from me, he was hiding them from Marcus as well. He was double-crossing everyone. I felt a surge of anger, a white-hot rage that burned through me. He had played us all for fools. I knew what I had to do. I contacted Marcus and told him what I had discovered. He was furious. He agreed to testify against Ben, to reveal the full extent of his scheme. The trial was a media circus. Ben tried to deny everything, but the evidence was overwhelming. Marcus's testimony sealed his fate. The judge ruled in my favor. I was awarded half of the hidden assets, and Ben was ordered to pay a hefty fine. But the victory felt hollow. I had won the battle, but the war had cost me everything. My marriage was over, my trust shattered, my faith in humanity shaken. I thought I wanted revenge. I thought I wanted to destroy Ben's life, just as he had destroyed mine. But in the end, I realized that revenge wouldn't bring me happiness. It wouldn't undo the pain. So, I made a choice. I chose forgiveness, not for Ben, but for myself. I forgave myself for being naive, for trusting the wrong person, for allowing myself to be blinded by love. I used the money I received from the divorce settlement to start my own business. It was something I had always dreamed of doing, but I had never had the courage to pursue it. Now I had nothing to lose. It wasn't easy. There were setbacks, failures, moments when I wanted to give up. But I persevered, driven by a newfound sense of purpose and a determination to create a better life for myself. And I did. My business flourished. I surrounded myself with good people, people who supported me, people who believed in me. I learned a valuable lesson from my experience with Ben. I learned that betrayal can be a catalyst for change, that even the darkest moments can lead to unexpected opportunities. I never spoke to Ben again. I didn't need to. I had moved on, healed, and created a life that was better than anything I could have imagined. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if Ben hadn't betrayed me. Would I still be living in that house, trapped in a loveless marriage, dreaming of a life that would never be? Maybe his betrayal was a blessing in disguise. Maybe it was the push I needed to, what would you have done? Chosen revenge, or found a way to forgive and rebuild? It's a question I still ask myself sometimes. The rain has stopped now, and the sun is beginning to peek through the clouds. The city lights are no longer blurry, but sharp and clear, reflecting the promise of a new day. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, what would you choose? Write what you choose. Anyway, starting my business was terrifying. I remember the first day so vividly. My tiny office, barely bigger than a closet, smelled of new paint and desperation. I'd sunk almost all my settlement money into it, leaving me with a financial cushion thinner than a sheet of paper. My company, Echo Strategies, focused on cybersecurity consulting, helping small businesses protect themselves from the kinds of online threats I'd become intimately familiar with. Irony, right? My first client was a local bakery. Mrs. Gable, the owner, was a sweet woman who specialized in sourdough and hadn't the faintest idea what ransomware was. Explaining blockchain and phishing to someone who thought a cookie was the peak of technological advancement was challenging. But somehow, I got through to her. I set up firewalls, implemented multi-factor authentication, and trained her employees on how to spot suspicious emails. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was fulfilling. I was helping people, preventing them from experiencing the kind of devastation I had. Success came slowly, painfully. There were days I wanted to give up, days I wondered if I'd made a huge mistake, but then I'd get a phone call from a client thanking me for saving their business. And I'd remember why I started. And speaking of phone calls, remember that anonymous message? The one warning me to drop the case against Ben? Well, it still haunted me. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story, that someone was still out there, watching me. So, I did what any sane person would do. I hired a private investigator. His name was Leo Maxwell. He was a grizzled old guy with a 5 o'clock shadow and a trench coat straight out of a noir film. He looked more like a detective from the 1940s than a tech-savvy investigator in 2025. But appearances can be deceiving. Leo was a master of digital forensics. He could track down anyone, uncover any secret with a few keystrokes. I told him everything. About the anonymous message, about Ben's shady dealings, about Marcus Thorne and his tech startup. Leo listened patiently, taking notes in a small leather-bound notebook. When I was finished, he looked at me with his piercing blue eyes. "I'll see what I can find, Mrs. Reynolds. But be warned, sometimes the truth is better left buried." A week later, Leo called me. "I've got something you need to see." We met at a dimly lit bar downtown, the kind of place where secrets are whispered and deals are made. Leo slid a manila envelope across the table. Inside were photographs, surveillance shots of Ben meeting with a woman I didn't recognize. They were taken in various locations: a secluded park, a back alley, a luxury hotel. The woman was young, attractive, and clearly infatuated with Ben. "Who is she?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Her name is Sarah Jenkins. She's an accountant who worked for Ben's company before he left," Leo said, a hint of sarcasm in his voice. "According to my sources, she was also his mistress." My stomach turned. Ben had not only betrayed me financially, he had betrayed me emotionally. But there was something else in the envelope, a transcript of a phone call between Ben and Sarah. It was heavily encrypted, but Leo had managed to crack it. The transcript revealed that Sarah was deeply involved in Ben's scheme. She had helped him hide the assets, falsify the financial records, and cover his tracks. She knew everything. And then I saw something that made my blood run cold. A line in the transcript that read, "Don't worry about Claire. I've taken care of her little problem." What little problem was he referring to? Was he talking about the anonymous message? Had he hired someone to scare me off? Or was it something worse? I suddenly felt incredibly vulnerable, exposed. I was no longer just a wronged wife seeking justice. I was a target. "Leo, I think I'm in danger," I said, my voice trembling. Leo nodded grimly. "I think you're right. We need to be careful, very careful." He suggested I go into hiding, stay with a friend or family member until he could figure out what Ben was planning. But I refused. I wasn't going to let Ben scare me. I wasn't going to let him control my life. I decided to confront Sarah. I found her address online and drove there, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. Her apartment was small and rundown, a stark contrast to the luxury hotels where she had been meeting Ben. I knocked on the door. She opened it, her eyes widening in surprise when she saw me. "Claire, what are you doing here?" "We need to talk, Sarah," I said, my voice cold and hard. I told her everything, about the photographs, about the phone call, about the transcript. I accused her of being Ben's accomplice, of helping him destroy my life. She denied everything, of course. She claimed she was just a pawn in Ben's game, that she had been manipulated and deceived. But I didn't believe her. I saw the guilt in her eyes, the fear in her voice. "I know you sent the message," I said, my voice low and dangerous. "The one that said, 'Drop the case, Claire. He's not worth it.'" She gasped, her face paling. I didn't mean any harm. I just wanted to protect you." "Protect me? By helping Ben steal my money, by lying to me, by threatening me?" She broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. She confessed everything. She admitted to helping Ben hide the assets, to falsifying the records, to sending the anonymous message. She said she had done it because she loved him, because she thought he would eventually leave me and be with her. I felt a surge of pity for her, but it was quickly replaced by anger. She was a victim, yes, but she was also a perpetrator. She had made her choices, and now she had to face the consequences. "I'm going to turn you in, Sarah," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "I'm going to tell the police everything. You can try to minimize your role, blame Ben all you want. It won't change what you did." As I turned to leave, she grabbed my arm. "Please, Claire, don't do this. Ben is dangerous. He'll come after both of us if you expose him." I froze. Was that a genuine warning? Or another manipulation? This felt like a bad movie scene. Sarah, desperate, Ben, lurking in the shadows. But this was my life. Now what? What would you do in my place? Trust her plea? Or assume it's another trap? The rain started again, mirroring the storm inside my head. Her words hung in the air, thick with desperation and something that, against my better judgment, felt like genuine fear. Did Ben really pose a physical threat? My experience of him had always been of a man who preferred manipulation and spreadsheets to actual confrontation. But Sarah seemed convinced, her eyes wide and glistening with tears. I pulled my arm away, the metallic tang of anxiety coating my tongue. If he's so dangerous, why did you help him in the first place? The question hung between us, unanswered for a beat. Rain hammered against the window, creating a relentless rhythm that echoed the pounding in my chest. Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. I thought I loved him. I thought he'd leave you. He promised me the world, Claire. He said we'd travel, live in luxury. He's a liar, obviously, but I wanted to believe him. There it was again, that pathetic, all too familiar lure of a better life. Hadn't I fallen for that too, in my own way? A life of comfortable security, a devoted husband. The lie had just been more subtly woven. I took a step back, needing to create some space, to think. "I need to go," I said, my voice flat. "I need to figure out what to do." As I reached the door, she called out again, her voice laced with a frantic urgency. "Wait, please, take this." She rummaged in a drawer and pulled out a small encrypted USB drive. It's everything. All the details of his scheme, the offshore accounts, the shell corporations. Everything. I copied it before he could find out. I hesitated. Could I trust her? Was this a genuine olive branch, or another layer of deception? My gut screamed at me to run, to hand her over to the authorities and be done with it. But there was something in her eyes, a raw vulnerability that resonated with my own past pain. "Why are you giving this to me?" I asked, suspicion still lacing my voice. "Because I'm tired of being afraid," she said, her voice trembling. "I want it to be over, and I owe you this, Claire. I'm so sorry for what I did." "What would you do? Trust a confessed accomplice and accept a mysterious USB drive, or walk away and let the legal system take its course?" The drive felt cold in my hand, heavy with the weight of its potential secrets. I took it. "I'm still turning you in, Sarah. Don't expect any favors." The